think a confusing part for a lot of people is, as you said, these people were evil and they were sacrificing their children. And then God commands the Israelites or allows them to go in and do the same thing. I think an example of that, one that I've read recently that's difficult for me is in Numbers 31, where God is telling the Israelites to take vengeance on the Midianites. So the Israelite men go in and they kill all of the Midianite army, and they take the women and the children captive and they bring them to Moses. And Moses gets upset with the Israelite army. He says, why have you kept these women alive? These are the same women that led you astray and caused you to worship Baal. So then he tells them, take all the male children, kill them from among the Midianites, take all the women who have known a man, kill them, but keep alive the virgin girls for yourselves. So to me, it's difficult because he did say, don't intermarry with them. These people are evil, so evil that the children had to die so that the next generation is not as evil. But then he tells them, take the virgin girls for yourself. So to me, it's confusing why we would condemn ISIS for doing the same when God does that in the Old Testament.
Okay, 2 parts in that. Very, very good question, Yosef. 2 parts. The first one, if I take that pen, okay, and if I drop it from my hand, what's gonna happen?
Drops.
That's because I'm punishing the pen. So I wanted the pen to fall. No, that's nonsense. There is law of gravity, that's called law of gravity. And that's like the law applies itself by itself. I don't control that. This is because there is a law in nature and it applies itself by itself.
It's a consequence.
Bravo. It's not the penalty, it's the consequence of the sin. So I sinned, the wages of this death is sin. This is the consequence. It's not punishment from God, it's more of my own choice that I choose to sin, and that's basically the consequence of sinning, death. On the other part, there is evil definitely among the people. The people, and that shows me that how much evil they became, even when the time of Jesus, the way, the method of crucifixion and all this kind of evil, it shows how much evil in the human nature of the mankind that they became at. So people pay for their sins. God doesn't want that. God doesn't want anybody to go to hell or being punished, but this is the choice that they chose for their life to sin, and that's basically the consequence of that, exactly like the pen falls, because there is a law of gravity. Now, the other part of that too, ISIS. In Christianity, and by the way, when Israel did the same thing, like for example, we're saying about the Canaanites and these 7 nations, God allowed them to be judged by the Israelites. When Israel itself got into problem, God allowed them to be exiled through the Babylonians. So God is very, very just, and he used certain times and certain people to allow that justice to take place. ISIS, that's a complete different story, because for example, when that happened, God didn't force these nations to come to Christ by force. ISIS, if you don't come to Islam, that's a violence. They kill you. So either you come to Islam, and if you don't, they allowed you to be killed. That's by force, and that's definitely wrong. God in the Old Testament didn't force anyone, you come to Judaism or even Christianity, and if you don't, then you be killed. No, that wasn't the reason he allowed them to be killed. The reason was because of their sins, because of their evil, that for a long, long time, they didn't repent for. In ISIS, that's a completely different story. That's by force.
And so because of the land too, right? Because the land was promised to them.
Because of the land too. And that's a big thing in the Old Testament. So this is a completely different story.
In that specific scenario, why would he command them to keep the virgins alive for themselves? That's the part that confuses me. And it was Moses that said this in the story. It wasn't directly God, but later on in the chapter, you see God telling them how to divide up the spoils and the plunders. And among the spoils and the plunders is the women. So it's almost like God is like signing off on that action. He's not really saying this is wrong or why are you doing this?
The Bible didn't tell us the answer for that. And therefore, I cannot really know. Like, I'm just speculating here, like based on my knowledge on his attributes, because I cannot take just a part of that context in the Bible and build my theology on it. I know he's a just God. I know he's very gracious. The Bible didn't tell us why in that particular situation or that kind of occasion, why he did that. or why he allowed that. And I don't know the answer for that because the Bible didn't say. But I know definitely it happened for a reason. And we might know that answer when we go to him and ask that. But from these two verses in Genesis and Deuteronomy, at least we know what was happening with these 7 nations and how their evil came really affecting the other nations they lived among them.